What's up, guys? It's James with This Week in Airsoft. We are back. It is a beautiful Thursday evening, just a little bit after Operation, or not Operation, just Road to Rostov, and our good buddy Spartan117GW, Greg Wong, is here. Greg, what's going on, man?
Hey, not much. I'm really glad to be back on the show. Just got back from Milsim West, and man, that was a hell of an experience. And I really want to thank you guys for helping me get out there. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
No, no, man, it was awesome. We were glad to have you go out there and represent us, and get some cool video and photos and stuff like that. And as long as you had fun, and it was we none of us could go out there, so it was awesome to get you to go out there, man.
Some
Um,
boots on the ground.
yeah, some boots on the ground. Our man in the field. So tell us, give us the beginning, the guts. Like, you get the op order in the mail. What did that look like?
So I tell you, like, what's very special and very particular about Milsim West isn't just the event itself. It's also the lead up to the event. I've been to a lot of Milsim games, and everyone's kind of like prepping, like, hey, who needs this and who needs that? But I mean, just the orders and the Warno and like how everything's laid out and how the organization and how everyone's kind of on the same page. It was just I've never seen that before in an airsoft game before. I mean, you really couldn't call this an airsoft game. I mean, it really is on a whole nother level. I mean, the prep and when you get the op order, which also has like your check-in and everything and the way they do it, and it's just amazing. I got to the AO early, and like as we were first platoon was supposed to step off the earliest, and then Recce was supposed to step off before even that. So pardon me, but yeah, it was just, man, it was just crazy. I get to AO early, and right away the first person I see is like one of the guys from the Recce team, which is awesome. So he like kind of shows me where to park, and then I meet Joshua Warren, get give him some of the PTS stuff, and then we get all our gear all formed up. And first platoon's like the first one to get everything like formed up and everything on the NATO side. And we had a layout, and it was for me it was like second nature because I've done layouts like a million times in the Army. So it was interesting to see. There was a lot of new faces, a lot of new people, and quite a few veteran Milsim West players as well. Um, but it was really cool. Eric Hickley showed up. He is like he's the guy who wrote the tax op. So having the guy who basically built the rule set, or at least helped build the rule set, and then kind of put it all into the tax op itself, with the input of all the other, like Brian and Josh and all the other guys from Milsim West. As the platoon sergeant was like invaluable, because it's like if you have any questions, the man who wrote the rule book or help put it together is like right there.
Right.
So that was really, really cool. And we had a little check-in, and kind of he came out, and the three things he said is he wanted people to, one, have fun, learn something, and have really good stories to tell, and definitely have some really good stories to tell from this event. So it was really cool. Everyone kind of fulfilled those three things that we had wanted to happen. But yeah, like I got to the AO like really early. I guess check-in was between like 1400 to 1800, but we were there like on site at like 12, so we were like really, really early. But yeah, we got everything checked in. And actually, check-in for a platoon getting checked in, it actually didn't take too long. It actually went by really smooth. And then from there, we stepped off. Recce and the four-man team, headed out first and got to the patrol base. And there was a couple guys from the regiment, which is Australian reenactment group, was there, and so we relieved those guys. It was cool to kind of see how they're kind of bringing the cross national thing along in the first stages of the op.
Right. Right. Very good. Very good. So what did you like? What were the teams like? Or would you say, did you feel like, did it feel teamy? Like,
It didn't feel very teamy. Like that was one of the things that Eric had put out, is he didn't want a lot of people wearing team patches and this, that, and the other. So first platoon was pretty sterile patch-wise for the most part. Everyone the idea was to kind of make everyone look a little more uniform, look a little bit
right.
more like part of the same team. And so I think the other platoons they still kind of rolled their individual patches and stuff, but first really kind of felt a lot more like a cohesive unit. I will say that being on Recce was kind of interesting because we're a little bit more autonomous, a little bit more self-sustaining. Once we got there, like first platoon came up, the hill, and then like maybe like half an hour later, it's like, all right, Recce's stepping off to go do some Recce stuff. It's like, oh, cool. So the first day, like we didn't, I personally didn't see much of First Platoon. That they got set up and everything, and it was actually kind of cool because once we got back there, we actually got to see all the developments and how they've like built up their fighting positions and everything. But yeah, like for Recce like stepped off, and I don't know what everyone else did, but Recce slept like out in the middle of the field with no cover. Like literally, we slept on a slab of rock.
Jeez.
And this is where things get really interesting. So things really got pretty crazy the first night. We personally didn't get in any of the firefights, but we saw a lot of the lead up and a lot of the chaos in the distance. Like this is stuff that you see in like Band of Brothers when you see like the flashes of explosions in the distance and stuff, and like the thunder and like the thumping of fighting, and you can hear people screaming and dying out there, and you're just kind of like doing your thing in your little fighting position or your OP or just observing, doing whatever you were supposed to do. So for us, it was kind of get eyes on the village, watch Russian movement, and man, there's a couple close calls. First time we saw some Russians come through, and we were like, oh, we need to move back a little bit more. So we found this one spot that just had just enough defilade from the road. So we could observe the road, we could observe troop movement, we can call it up, report it in. But on the backside, completely exposed. Like, if anyone had nods, or it had just happened to look that way, they probably would have seen us. But I will say, even through nods, just the way the rock kind of looked kind of broke up our silhouettes a little bit. But we were pretty exposed. I was really worried about that. But so it was kind of a two-way, like, it was just hard to find a good LPOP out there, because if you went in certain areas, you were definitely like really, really in Russian territory. So we were kind of like, in the middle of the map, just watching movement. And like later on in the night, we were kind of like, getting ready, kind of, I guess you call it stand to. So we're kind of transitioning to nighttime ops and into really settling in for the night. And we had one set of nods to pass between like three guys. So we'd pass them off, and whoever had them just like scanning, looking for stuff. We'll duck down as a vehicle drives by, and we can see the headlights like sweep right over us, and then we'll kind of sit back up and look around real quick and kind of continue doing what we're doing. Like this is like straight up like Lone Survivor, like out there like behind enemy lines type stuff.
That sounds awesome.
And, oh, it was crazy. So the other two guys, like, we were like kind of doing 2 on, 1 off, or 1 on, 2 off, or whatever. And then at one point, the fog really starts rolling in, and I think I slept the second shift. I woke up around like 10 because we got in bed early because it was like, well, what else are we gonna do? We're just sitting here, so started the shifts a little early. But I woke up. It was really, really cold because the fog had come in. The moisture is really starting to settle in. And I packed really light for the LPOP because my mindset is, if you're bringing, like, the other guys brought sleep bags, which is great, which is fine. But where we were so exposed, it was kind of like, I mean, if we were, like, more concealed, I probably would have brought the sleeping bag. But since we were so open, I wanted, like, my stuff to be, like, if something happens, I could literally grab everything in 2 seconds and run. So I just had the whoopee, the very classic, the whoopee. It's like the Army's tactical blanket essentially. And I just had that. And I woke up and I sat up and I was kind of looking for where the guys were, and they kind of were walking back from like just a position that was a little bit further away. And then I was just talking to him like, "Hey, did you see anything?" Like, "Yeah, no." And then like one of the guys like scanning, and then he says, "Everyone, get down." And he takes a knee next to me. He's like, "Dude, there's guys on that hill to the right of us, just like scanning." And like thing is, we'd heard the Russians had nods. So if the Russians have nods, if we can see them, that means more than likely they could probably see us.
Yeah, right.
So we were like, "Oh, buddy, we are about to have contact. This is about to get pretty crazy." Because I'm like half still covered with my whoopee, and my rifle is just about arm's distance away. So I'm like slowly like reaching for this thing. And so I guess they had one guy observing, and a column of about 20 or 30 Russians walked and stopped about 50 feet from us, like within close enough that we could hear them whispering. And we could hear them whispering. They could almost certainly hear us whispering. So we like went dead silent. So we couldn't, like, we didn't do anything. I didn't have the nods, so I'm just like thinking in my mind that literally within like earshot is Russians, 20 or 30 of them, right in front of me as I'm looking through the pitch blackness. I can't see them, but I know they're there. And I don't dare to like reach back and try to like grab the nods because he's already watching. But I'm just like, dear God, they're right there. And like for a second, I thought they knew we were here too, and I thought they were like either that or I thought if they didn't know that we were there, they were just gonna start walking over the rock that we were at and trip on us and stuff, which would also be really, really, really bad. So I was just like, I was prepared to see the first Russian like walk over the rock and just like walk right over me or like right on me. So I'm just like, don't move a muscle. Like it's like Jurassic Park. And we wait. Like and they because they paused there. They stopped right there. I don't know if they heard something and we're just like listening or what, but they stopped like right there. So we were like, oh shit. And then then thank God they like the first guy gets up and then they all start following him. So we're just watching this whole like platoon-sized element almost just walk across the open field towards one of our other like patrol bases or for the second or third platoon. And we were just like, damn, that was close. Like, holy crap. Like, because earlier in the night, anytime a vehicle comes by, we have to like lay down flat and like hope the lights don't like silhouette us and stuff. And like in the distance, you hear like you see flares, IR flares going off, people screaming. Like you could hear the Russians hitting those patrol bases really hard. And then we saw the Aussies roll up, and like we were pretty sure they were the Aussies, but we didn't want to like give ourselves away, so we just like sat there and looked and just watched them as they crossed the open. It's like, oh, those are the Aussies, and then they roll up the hill, and then all of a sudden you hear like bang, 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 ah! And people like screaming. It's like, well, the Russians definitely ambushed them, and they all died.
Oh,
and sure enough, we see all the OP4 or the Aussies walking back, but. Like, it was a few times like that where in the night where literally we just, like, froze and we would see somebody and we're like, don't move. Or, like, we'd see, like, an IR light or a laser, like, flooding across the tree line or whatever. But, yeah, literally, like, if people saw where we slept, it was, like, it was in the open. Like, our back was to an open field with vegetation no taller than, like, a few inches. So, it wasn't the best position, but it was kind of like this weird position no one would look, hopefully. And none of them did, thank God. But they got really close, like, and it was really cold. So when we woke up in the morning, we woke up straight from that and went into a mission in the morning. So there was no running back to the PB. Oh, okay, let me brush my teeth and take a shower and then do this mission. It was literally like we woke up and then it was like, oh, we got to step off now and meet up with the platoon sergeant because I guess he was doing a little scout platoon with one squad, like a little scout mission. But that night was just crazy because it was just literally like that. Anytime you've seen a movie where there's just flashes of light in the distance, it was exactly like that. So in the morning, we go to our secondary position, which is kind of hidden in some rocks, and meet up with Eric Hickley and second squad, so 1-2. And we go and follow them and kind of like trail them a little bit, and they end up ambushing a guy walking back to, I guess, his car or whatnot. And he's like, I'm walking back to my car. He's like, not before you get searched. So they searched him for intel, and they ambushed two guys who were also walking around. And then we got we were trying to figure out where the hell is the Russian patrol base, because during our observations in the night, all the foot traffic and all the vehicle traffic was moving in one direction, and there was kind of a big in the night, and with nods or even without nods, you can see there's just like this glow in the distance, and you knew those were probably like cars and stuff and fires and people talking and chanting. So like maybe the first night maybe we could have gotten closer, so but who knows. So we end up scouting all the way around, and we got to this place where there was like a ravine, and it's getting pretty close to where the Russian patrol base is, or we found that it was. But there's like this just hill, which is a really good point to kind of observe from, and which was kind of made sense that there was actually Russians on it. So we get into this really crazy little battle. It's kind of like Lone Survivor for a second, or like it was just crazy because you got the recce team fighting in the rocks, shooting up, and the other like the regular infantry guys pushing up from one way, and then a whole bunch of other Russians like came in, and everything got crazy. A couple of us died, but it was funny. When some of us died, the Russians started shoving broccoli in our pockets. It's they'd be like, "Niet the broccoli," and then we were like, put broccoli in our pockets. So like, what the heck? I was like, oh well, that's kind of funny though.
Is that what there's the picture you put up on? Yeah. Let's call it the grenade with the broccoli on it.
It's like return refund on broccoli. Niet the broccoli.
That's great, man. That's great.
But yeah, that first whole night and the whole morning, like that was like in the morning, and like we were talking to Eric on the way back, and he's like, dude, before most people like were awake, we had already like attacked like one of the enemy positions and probed and kind of tried to see where their patrol base, although they definitely kind of knew where our patrol base was. But later in the day, like the platoon is about ready to step off. This is where things really get interesting. So, like they had like a real world emergency, so a bunch of the recce guys had to step off to kind of help out with that. So I was kind of by myself, so I kind of folded in with a bunch of first guys. And, first was going to step off and just go raid the enemy PB, just kind of go the same route but bring more guys. As like pretty much the entire patrol base was like empty, but like two guys, and everyone was down at the bottom of the hill getting ready to move. I looked to my left, and everyone can kind of hear it. And if you've seen like Jurassic Park with like the Gallimimus, well, instead of Gallimimus with the rolling hills, it's Russians. So I'm like looking, and I'm just like, holy crap! Everyone's not in their fighting positions. Everyone's like at the bottom of the hill. I'm like, holy crap! There's Russians like coming from over there. So, and here's the thing that I kind of felt was interesting was that some of the Russians, like the Russians had a lot of like the experienced players, but in particularly they actually had guys who helped build the AO or cut out the trenches and stuff. So I was kind of wondering because why the American like fighting positions were kind of like they were pretty good, but like if you saw how the Russians were set up, I was like that's way better. So I was like, man, I kind of felt like we got like the short end of the stick about how we were set up because it was just like the way they had dug out the fighting positions on our patrol base didn't quite make sense. Like the most important piece should be at the very top, but it wasn't. It was like the second lump right before the top. And so we didn't really have really good coverage and field of view. And so that's why when we had gotten hit, some of the Russians were talking about it. But basically they just like came over. They came over the one fighting position at the top of the hill, and literally it was just they just rolled downhill and just killed everything in their path. So it was like pure destruction. But I was like, we weren't really ready for it, and it was just like, well, they kind of knew exactly where to hit us because the guys who basically built the patrol base were on their team. So that was kind of like, I was like, ah, shucks. But if I had to do it again, I would completely reset up like how the patrol bases were set up, just because like looking like literally, it was like the side they hit, that's the side I would have hit. It was perfect side to hit. It was just a one fighting position watching the entire flank at the top of the hill, which normally the talk would be at the top of the hill, and all the fighting positions would be surrounding that.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, all they did was throw their entire platoon at that one fighting position, and then they were at the top of the hill, and they just had to roll downhill with everything they had. So that really kind of made it easy on them. But I think what I probably would have done differently, because when we observed the Russian patrol base, their entire force was on one patrol base. NATO was scattered on three separate hilltops, or three or four separate hilltops, with hills in between. So NATO was really spread out. So if anything happened, we really couldn't help each other out, and there wasn't a whole lot of coordination between the platoons. Like within the platoons, they worked fine. From platoon to platoon, things were very like not on the same page. So I think the Russians had a really good setup that way. Not only were they physically in the same area and could control the same area, like they could have left one platoon to hold security on everything and send 2 or 3 platoons out, no problem. But for us, it was just like, well, when we left, there's pretty much no one watching the home base. You either had to roll all or nothing, really. So that was kind of interesting setup. I think that's one thing I probably would have changed. I would have put NATO all on one hill, spread out enough so that indirect can take everyone out, but close enough that everyone can kind of like intersecting fields of fire. Because with one platoon, I mean, how many blind spots can you really cover on a patrol base? Like
right.
just the way it was set up, there was just way too many blind spots, and it gave them a really good avenue of approach in there. But that's one thing I probably would have like changed, but that was cool. And then we ended up hitting their try to hit the patrol base later on, and it was kind of funny because the whole platoon scattered way around that same route to that hill that kind of overlooked their AO. And then Eric Hickley looks to me as like, hey, you remember Saving Private Ryan? Like the guy in the back of the German bike? That's you. We're going to go try to bait him in. So he and I just walk out, and we're just walking,
That's awesome.
walking casually. Yeah. we're just walking casually to the entire Russian front. So it's like the entire Russian like army is out there, and then you just see two NATO guys just walking up casually to see how close they can get, and then like you start to hear them calling us out, and then some guys like, "Hey Do, hey Do over there." Hey, that, hey, he was like, we're like, oh shit, well, they see us now, because that was the kind of the point, but they didn't realize it was a whole, we had a whole platoon out there, but to be honest, like, they had their entire company was out there, so it was not really a good, like, you attack 3-1, not 1-3.
Right.
1-3 is really, really bad. But you know, because like the other two platoons, like I mean, I think with the exception of maybe one battle, like they'd pretty much sat at their cop most of the time. So we were like, you know, Eric wants to move around, so we're gonna move around and get some infantry movement out there. So we got out there, and then we kind of lured some of them in, and then we ambushed them with tag rounds, which is the 44mm grenades. Now, if people aren't familiar with tag rounds, this will completely change how airsoft is fought in Milsim. It really gives the 203 guy, the fucking grenadier, it really gives him, yeah, so, like an actual grenade that goes out 350 feet and blows up in midair and has like a 10 to 15 feet dispersion radius, and whoever's in that 10 15 feet will die. Like it actually makes him fulfill a role that was always like intended, but no one could ever come up with the technology to do it. So,
did you feel? Did you get to use them?
I personally didn't get to use them, but I got to watch them being used, and very effective. I mean, like literally, it changed the game. Like if a guy had a 6-barrel grenade launcher with those things, and he caught an enemy platoon out in the open, he could wipe out probably half to almost the entire platoon.
Wow. So they were a game changer.
Total game changer. And like the way Clovis is with the rolling hills, and like there's not a lot of cover, and you can get those really long shots. Couldn't have asked for a better weapon system to really complement that battlefield, because there's hills and defilade, and you can get that thing to blow up right above the cover and stuff too. Or if you catch guys in the open, you can decimate them. But yeah, it was really cool. Like we ended up hitting the edge of their PB as much as we could. But dude, they had like the entire Russian army, so it was just like we knew it was gonna happen. It was just only a matter of when. But we held that hill as long as we could. But we ended up getting killed again. But the footage looked really cool because we got some really good tag round kills on them.
Nice, nice. And you got video coming out, right? You just put your teaser out.
I put up the teaser. You know, that was really just like I wanted to have something out there, just kind of entice people and give them something to bite on, give them something to chew on. So I hope you liked that. I hope people really enjoyed it. I was really shooting for like a theatrical kind of feel, you know, like everyone's putting gameplay up, and some people are just slapping stuff together. I really wanted this to feel like a piece. And then, you know, I'm kind of thinking, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to present the rest of the footage. So I was really fortunate. A lot of the guys in the first platoon, I was like, hey man, I want to put this video together. Would love to have your guys' perspectives as well. So so I got contributing footage from a bunch of the guys on NATO and on first platoon. So definitely going to give those guys credit, because you know, the video couldn't have been what it was without those guys. And you know, I'm thinking maybe like a documentary, or kind of maybe I'll edit it kind of like Restrepo, or like some of the documentaries you see on the History Channel, or the kind of like going through the battle and showing the map and showing troop movement and talking about how things went down, because everyone's going to be showing gameplay. But you know, and like intercut gameplay with that as well to kind of show like on the ground what was going on. But well, we'll see what happens. But I would love to do a longer cut of the cinematic portion as well. But yeah, people have been reacting pretty good to that as well.
I thought that was really cool. I thought that was like the way you did it was really cool. It gives it kind of a cinematic view. It's like kind of action-y, but it's kind of chill. You just kind of go watch, you get sucked in. It's good. It's really good. Guys, I'll put that up. I'll link that, and also I'll probably play it in here without any audio so you guys can see. But definitely go watch it on Greg's page so you can see it with the audio and stuff. It's gonna be really cool. It's a really cool video, and kind of wets your whistle for the stuff he has to come out. And Greg's he's like one of the masters of video editing, so he always comes out with pretty good stuff.
Yeah, like I think one of the funny things is like the audio of like the muffled gunfire and the people screaming. I was like dead. I was dead when that happened, so my arm was kind of covering the camera, but it muffled it just enough to kind of give it that like eerie surround, you know, sound like you're hearing it in the distance or like kind of relatively close, but it kind of gave the video a very interesting vibe, and so I really wanted to start out with like that hard black cut, and you just hear the gunfire and everything, and it's just kind of set the mood.
Right.
So it's really meant to be like eerie, build up to the action, and then eerie again, and kind of drops off, and then you're just like left with the taste of what's to come.
Good. Good. Well, I thought it was good, man, and I'm looking forward to see what else you got coming out. So overall, Greg, you give Milsim. This is your first Milsim West op. Do you give it your stamp of approval?
Oh, most definitely. Like they prepare you psychologically for the event, or I mean, at least in the hopes that you're mentally ready for this kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of stuff you have to do. For me, it was easy just because since I was in the army, a lot of stuff kind of crosses right over in terms of like, oh, orders, oh, packing list. Oh, I've done this before like a million times. But they do a really good job. Getting people prepared for the event, and they had very low attrition rate. A lot of Milsim games, like sometimes like 20, 30% of the people leave on the last
Oh
day,
yeah, yeah. It's
but
always really
like
bad.
this very small attrition rate. I mean, these are the most hardcore players out there, and they've got blanks, they've got explosives. I mean, it is pretty intense. And then, I mean, it's just a lot of cool stuff happened. Everyone walked away with really good stories, and my favorite story is kind of sneaking into the Russian patrol base and finding Jet in his foxhole. It's like, there he is, right there, just hanging out in his desert foxhole. I was like, haha, I got you.
His
Got you
desert
good.
foxhole.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man, yeah, man, that's a great picture. That's on our page, guys. If you want to see it, it's a really funny picture.
Yeah, like,
Um,
oh man, that was funny because we were just walking around their patrol base, and I mean, no one really, no one had seen us. Like, no one had known that we were there. So we were just walking around, and he actually had a foxhole that was like out in the middle of, instead of on the line where everyone else's was, it was like in the middle. So it was actually really, really easy to find. Like, we kind of walked up on an accident in the beginning. But yeah,
nice.
everyone walked away with really good stories. The event was run really well. It wrapped up really quick, and they had a really solid AAR. And I think a lot of people, if they're interested in going, they definitely want to be prepared for it. This is the event that you really want to be physically and mentally prepared for. Probably more so than any other Milsim event that I've been to. Just because like sleeping outside, like not everyone is comfortable with that, but it adds to the experience, and it's kind of what separates the event from other events as well.
What's the what what was your like? You've been to a lot of events. You've been to a John Liu event, right?
I haven't been to John Liu actually. I've been to a few
Okay.
American Milsim events. I've been to events on the East Coast. Let's see, American Milsim East Coast. I've been to a couple Mind Games ones, and then I mean I've played at like smaller events like all over, like in North Carolina, and then in Japan, and then events in California as well. But in terms of like hardcore Milsim, this was definitely the
So
most immersive.
so you would say this is a cut. Would you say this is? I don't want to compare because I think that's not fair. But I think would you say this is a cut above the rest, or is it just its
It's
own thing?
it's a different shade. It's a different
Okay, a
shade of
different shade.
Milsim, but I will say in terms of what you physically and mentally need to be prepared for, you definitely need more to be physically and mentally prepared for this game than most of the other games out there.
Right, right, right. Okay, all right. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, cool. So what's next for you, Greg? What's the next event you're going to?
Well, looking at SS Airsoft, American Milsim's Copperhead, hopefully I'll try to get to one of the GI games before then. But just really kind of just going to the next few events and maybe hitting up a couple local ones. But the big one on my radar is definitely American Milsim's Copperhead and the SS Airsoft 5 year. So those are things that I'll be at, so people can say hi and drop by if they plan on going to those. But definitely looking forward to those. It'll be a great time.
Excellent, excellent. All right, cool, man. All right, Greg. Well, I'm not going to hold you up. I really appreciate it. We gave guys a only a 30-minute episode, so guys should be happy with us today. Um, but yeah, man, it was a pleasure having you go out, and we're looking forward to seeing your other videos out. And guys, we'll have all the stuff posted when Greg puts it out. We will repost it and share it and stuff like that, and it should be a good time. So, Greg, we'll have you back on as the year progresses, and like I said, man, I really appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you very much, and thanks again for helping me go out there and kind of getting to see Milsim West firsthand and representing you guys. It was a great honor and it was a great opportunity.
No problem, man. Our pleasure. Our pleasure. All right, guys. So thanks for checking out another interview, little interviewlet, I guess we'll call this. Um, we will be doing back to the regular schedule of doing podcasts every couple weeks, starting middle of February. Oh wait, this is way past middle of February. Beginning of March. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna record one this weekend, a kind of a serious one. So I'll record one this weekend, and it should be up probably Monday, and this one will probably be up. Well, it'll be up before this weekend because you'll need to know I'm recording one this weekend. So anyway, guys, as always, this is James with This Week in Airsoft for myself and the rest of the TWiA team, and for Greg. Thanks a lot, and you guys have a great night.